Hey guys!
Hey!
Welcome to episode 4. Yet another episode with us. Hope you enjoyed last week's video. Blah blah blah. Wanted to talk about a few thoughts about how we go back into normal life, and I wanted to refer to. Are you on your phone? We have viewers here. Come on.
Sorry, guys.
Anyway, so I wanted to refer to a article that I read the other week, and it's about what is this? Spartan race invitation. What's this? There are no Spartan races.
There's virtual Spartan races.
And what is a virtual Spartan race?
So you don't have to travel anywhere. Spartan comes to you.
But why do I have an invitation?
Because I just signed you up.
You signed me up for a Spartan race.
Mm-hmm.
A virtual Spartan race.
Uh-huh.
And when does it take place?
Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, but you've got to be there for 8:30.
And why didn't you tell me this? Are you signed me up for a Spartan race?
Yeah.
Are you Hey guys!
Hey!
Welcome back.
Welcome!
All a joke. We're all positive. We're all good.
Everything's under control. Everything's fine.
We actually had to pull ourselves together to try and be that serious, in all honesty.
It took us a few takes
Yeah,
to do that.
it took a few
gotta
takes.
say.
I sincerely do hope, or we sincerely do hope, that you enjoy these series. We enjoy making it for you. The feedback so far is still good, so we keep making it for you.
Great feedback. Thank you, guys.
So last week, as we released the video, the Swiss government has announced their exit strategy, or more or less, and that got us thinking, is like, what does that mean for us as individuals, and how do we go out of it? And I have once read or listened to an audiobook that has a lot of interesting points. Also, what that meant is that your business will be going back to business.
Exactly. So one-to-one trainings, being in contact with other people. Obviously, he's a good one. But just in contact with different people and speaking to my customers physically, it's going to be great.
Yeah. So we went downstairs and prepped the good old studio. Turns out that, thank goodness we didn't do the spring clean yet. I mean, look at this
Look
stuff.
at this.
We had this door open for what, 5 minutes?
Yep.
Dear me. I think we were lucky not to do the spring clean yet. I mean, hang on. Look at the state of my car, actually. Look at the state of this. Hang on.
That is disgusting.
Ugh. So, government has decided to start phase 1, which means you, as a one-to-one service, officially can reopen. Is that correct?
I sure can. I can reopen giving one-to-one personal training, but I do have to keep the standards. For example, you need to keep your distance, and the Swiss government does recommend to say 2 meters. Wash your hands thoroughly. Avoid handshaking. Cough and sneeze into a tissue or the crook of your arm. And also, if you do feel ill, make sure you ring up the doctor's department, the emergency department before you go in.
I'll step back a little bit just to see the space that you actually have available for people.
Ignore the mess a little bit. I'm just kind of prepping everything. I can easily keep a 2 meter distance. For example, 1, 2. Got plenty of room. No hugging, unfortunately, which hurts me because I love to hug my customers.
That is hard for you, isn't it?
It is.
So, and I hear that you have a couple more tips for our viewers.
Yes, I do. So in the last video, I showed you some DIY tips to do your home office sitting or standing. And now I'm going to show you 5 core tips to help you strengthen your core. The 5 core exercises will be plank, hollow hold, glute bridge, back extension, and a dead bug. Yes, it sounds funny, but it's super good for the core. The first exercise is a plank, and I'm going to show you 2 options that you can perform. Firstly, you can be on your knees. I want your elbows to be directly under your shoulders. You can cross your feet at the ankle. Important to engage your core, and you look down and your back is nice and flat. Option number 2, if you think your knees is a little too easy, come onto your feet. Important here to keep a nice straight back again, squeeze your butt cheeks and engage your stomach. Exercise number 2, I'm going to show you a hollow hold. You're going to lie on your back. The first option, your knees are going to be 90 degrees, and you're going to lift your shoulders off the floor. Important here to make sure your back is nice and flat on the floor. The second option is to extend one leg, okay? It's slightly harder, and after a few seconds, you can always change legs. Again, keep that back nice and flat on the floor. The third option is the toughest option. What I want you to do, you're going to point your toes and you're going to have both legs nice and straight and your arms above your head. Even if that's too easy, you can lower your legs as low as possible towards the floor. Important to have your back nice and flat on the floor. Exercise 3 is called a glute bridge. Important to bring your heels as close to your glutes, your bum, as possible. Your arms nice and flat, shoulders on the floor. And what I want you to do is you're going to lift your hips up to the sky and bring them down to the floor. Up and down. Important to exhale and inhale. Exhale, inhale. The second option that you can do is you do the exact same movement, but your hips do not touch the floor. Exhale, inhale. Exhale, inhale. The fourth exercise is the back extension, and there's 2 types of options. You're going to lie on the floor. You're going to bring your hands close to your chest. Your neck is nice and straight. You either look at the floor or you look sideways. So what you're going to do, you're going to come up and down. Come up and down. Your second option is, if the first option is too easy, nice and straight with your arms, come up and down. Come up and down. Really squeeze your glutes again. My 5th and final exercise for you guys, the dead bug, the funny sounding one. It's great for your coordination as well. It's quite tricky. So you're going to lie on your back nice and flat on the floor. You're going to start with your knees at 90 degrees, shoulders on the floor. Both arms poker straight. What I want you to do, your right hand and your left leg, you're going to extend and bring back. You're going to swap arms and swap legs. Extend and back. And that other leg, so this leg is going to stay nice and still, okay? Once you think you have mastered this exercise, now I want you to lift your shoulders up from the ground. Keep looking to the sky and do the same exercise. Again, keep your back nice and flat on the floor. The exercise that I've just shown you are the 5 exercises to help strengthen your core. I hope you could take a little bit out from it. If you have any further questions or any queries, just let me know. My website is, I think, around about here in the description, and I will pop my email address down there. So just let me know. So everything's spandangly downstairs, clean, got all my posters up. And then we got some new news from the Federal Office of Public Health saying now personal trainings are, it's a bit of a grey area. So maybe something will come out tomorrow in their conference. They have a conference tomorrow, right?
I'm not sure. Anyway, but we will keep you posted.
Yes.
We have to, keep up to date ourselves.
Yeah.
But like I promised in the beginning, I wanted to take this opportunity to share a few thoughts or provoke a few thoughts when going back into normal life. And by that I don't mean a business, I don't mean a country, I mean us all as individuals. We're all in this together. You watching this, us sitting here, we still stick to some of the, well, all of the rules that we set to ourselves.
Yeah.
And the one thing that probably people will think of is like, well, we'll just use common sense to go back into normal life. And the problem with common sense is it's not that clear. What is common sense?
And it's different to other people. Someone might think common sense is one thing, but then the other person will think, no, that's not common sense.
I don't want to call it rules, but maybe guidelines is what we need to go back. And it helps if we as individuals also, decelerate, if you will. I love to use that term, decelerate, take things slow. Which brings me to a very important point, because before all this started and happened, I bet there is at least a few listeners out there who thought to themselves, gosh, I wish there was a break from this hustle and bustle all the time, this always further, faster, and like I don't know, it's just slow it down.
Yeah.
And here is that break. And what brought me to this thought is an article that I would like to share with you. I'm going to link it down below. It's from a magazine, I think it's called Forge. It was shared by a few friends of mine, and there were 2 sentences triggered that thought in me. So for one, he says, I hope you might consider this. What happened is inexplicably incredible. It's the greatest gift ever unwrapped. Not the deaths, not the virus, but the great pause. Now here is that great pause that we've been longing for. And on top of that, and this is what really got me thinking, is at no other time ever in our lives have we gotten the opportunity to see what would happen if the world simply stopped. Now I wouldn't say the world has just stopped, but it definitely, pumped the brakes big time, and here we are, But then again, we at some point will go back into a normal-ish life. Hopefully so. We all miss hanging around with people and seeing our friends and family and so on. But when we do go back, and I think in particular for us as travelers, for us as consumers, and for us as employees or self-employed people, you're self-employed, I think there's a few thoughts that would help maybe when taking on new jobs or projects or whatever. And I'm going to refer to you a few points from a book called Essentialism, written by author Greg McKeown.
Sounds good.
For all of you who live in the German-speaking world, that book is also available in German, and I highly recommend it. And what I'm about to list is only like 4 or 5 little points of it. It is a great read, and it is very easily applied in your own life if you do have the courage to do so. So to begin with, what is Essentialism about? It's about everything that is essential. Sounds very obvious, but it is called the disciplined pursuit of less, but better. Now there is a saying, less is more, and this book pretty much goes in that direction, and I think that has value for every one of us. You've noticed it when you become self-employed.
Correct.
You have a lower income, but you are more fulfilled. You're more content.
A lot more fulfilled, yeah. I'm making people happy, if that makes sense, and I'm noticing a change with people, with my customers as well. It's really nice to observe. Yeah, it just makes me happier to see these results.
Yeah. And I think that is one thing we are all striving for. We want to do something that fulfills us, that makes us happy, if you will. And just a little tip, there are studies, I can refer to them maybe in the next video, that apparently prove that people are generally happier for a longer period of time if their job or if they're doing involves improving other people's lives, be it health or fitness in your point, be it, I don't know, whatever it is that improves other people's lives, that has a longer lasting feeling of happiness within yourself. Number 2 would be living by design and not by default. Now, we just mentioned you took a step back from managing a coffee shop. I think a certain mug in this series gives it away. But you took the step to do what you wanted to do for yourself. Not because where you worked was not good, but because it wasn't the one thing that fulfilled you.
Exactly. Something was still missing.
Right.
Something was missing.
And by all means, I don't mean every one of you watching this has to go out there and be self-employed. All I'm trying to do is for those of you who wanted this break, maybe to go back into normal life, to have this sentence as a headline, living by design and not by default. And what that means is you are in charge of your own life. If you work in a job where you just clock in, clock out because it has just become that, it has just become a default, then it's not something that you designed or potentially not something that you wanted. So maybe this little sentence, living by design and not by default, might just help you. That leads me to point number 3. If you don't prioritize your own time, someone else will do it for you. And I think we've all been in this situation where we didn't quite know how to prioritize, and all of a sudden someone jumps in and takes that step for us. And that is, I think, in a lot of cases in business or wherever it is, if you don't take responsibility for your own time, someone else will take it up for you, and time is precious, it's invaluable. If you do look into job opportunities, projects, personal projects, whatever it is, if you don't prioritize your own time, someone else will do it for you. And I think we do have the time now to reestablish what are our priorities, what are our own values. So make sure when we go back to normal, prepare, prioritize your own time. And lastly, tip number 4 is a very obvious one, but a one that all of us, including this one, will struggle in the future, have struggled in the past, and that is quite simple. If it's not a clear yes, it is a no. And in his book, he describes it so well. We as people, we don't like to say no. There are certain cultures in the world that actually don't even use the word no. And it's important for you to realize, like, if you have an unsure feeling, if you don't feel quite 100%, then you don't have to do it. You don't have to say yes. I, in particular, I remember once taking on a job. I walked into that workshop and I was thinking, this just doesn't feel right. But you know what? Just do it. It all turned out well, but I left that job after 5 months, which is, now it's not that bad, but it's just something that to keep in mind. So I think that sentence is well worth remembering. If it's not a clear yes, it is a no. And he mentions 3 steps to get there, to get to essentialism, to get to what's essential to your life. Step 1 is to explore. What is essential to your life? To get to step 2, eliminate what's non-essential in your life. Which leads me to step 3, which is execute. So you execute what is essential, what needs to be done. It's not about getting a lot of things done, it's about getting the right things done, the essential things. again, I can only recommend you that book, Essentialism. I hope these tips are valuable to you, a little food for your thoughts, if you will. That's been us from this week, and we have a Spartan race to prep thanks to this one.
Oh yes.
So that's going to be in next week's episode, I guarantee you that. And we also have to, well, I have to get my car washed. That needs a good old scrub, as you saw before. And a good old car wash is calling for some tunes and some jigging, I would say, right?
Sounds like a plan.
So that's something that you're up for. Tune in next week. All right.
All right.
Stay safe, guys.
Stay safe.
Thanks for
home.
tuning in. See you later.